and this was actually the very first thing I bought with my job money as a kid. Um, I was actually out of wrestling during this time somewhat. I didn't watch after like the Royal Rumble in 2007. I kind of stopped watching for a while, but WrestleMania 27, this has mixed criticism about it. Like it was, it had some good matches, but there were some things they could have done better with it. I mean, there was a lot of talent here they could have used for different reasons, I guess. Um, like they had a Money in the Bank ladder match, which just was the first time Edge lost at WrestleMania, and there were ideas where like they wanted to do Hulk Hogan versus the Big Show, where Hulk Hogan body slams the Big Show, but Hulk Hogan wasn't in good terms with WWE at this time, and they couldn't do that. But this was not a bad WrestleMania whatsoever. It was average, I guess. But they had like going over the matches. They had ECW Originals versus the New Breed, which the ECW Originals won. Um, I guess they kind of just put an 8-man tag match on there. It was kind of featuring ECW at the time because Bobby Lashley was the ECW champion. He was facing Umaga, which I'll get to that later. It was the Battle of the Billionaires. They had Melina versus Ashley for the women's championship in a lumberjill match. Probably just give every girl a payday. So give a bunch of people a payday. So why not have a lumberjill match? Actually, it is. Yes, it is. Um, They had Kane versus the Great Khali, which was a horrible WrestleMania match. It was they had Kane body slam the Great Khali, which was one of the bigger moments of the night, but it was a horrible match nonetheless. Um, but the Money in the Bank ladder match, that Mr. Kennedy won it, but then he lost it like a month later to Edge because they thought he was injured and was going to be out for a while. So Mr. Kennedy's Money in the Bank win didn't really get nowhere because Mr. Kennedy kept messing up in the whole year. He was going to be the world champion, then he got injured, then he was going to be Mr. McMahon's son, but he was on a steroid sting list where they thought he was, well, maybe he did do steroids, I don't know, and then he didn't get pushed, and Hornswoggle got Mr. Kennedy's push. Um, but that wasn't a bad Money in the Bank ladder match, but I was actually a big fan of Mr. Kennedy at the time. I really liked his work. I was very mad when he didn't get any of those pushes, honestly. I was thinking, WWE, what are you doing? He should have been the champion or whatever. Now, Chris Benoit versus MVP. This was Chris Benoit's last WrestleMania. We faced MVP and defeated MVP with a flying headbutt, and they were feuding. Chris Benoit was helping MVP get more over and get better, you know. Um, yeah, it was a pretty good match, though. Then you had the good matches, which Batista versus Undertaker happened in the middle of the show. I think Batista versus the Undertaker should have been the main event, but it happened in between like the middle, like the first hour or so of the show or whatever. And of course, the Undertaker won, became the world champion. And everybody during this time, everybody wanted to see Batista versus the Undertaker. So that was the match people wanted to see, which was it was a pretty good match. Some people believe that Batista was actually going to win, but Undertaker won, of course, because the streak lives on. Lives on. Then you had Bobby Lashley versus Umaga. Umaga was the Intercontinental Champion, and Bobby Lashley, like I said, was the ECW Champion. And we all knew that Donald Trump wasn't going to get his head shaved, although more people preferred that to happen, but that wasn't going to happen. And that led on to a feud with Bobby Lashley versus Mr. McMahon that went on until ECW One Night Stand, and then they tried to push Bobby Lashley into becoming the WWE champion and feuding with John Cena. But then Bobby Lashley, after he left the company, and then they didn't do nothing with him ever since until now. The irony is now he's the WWE champion now. So yeah. Then you had John Cena versus Shawn Michaels, which was a good match. It was the main event, although the Undertaker won the Royal Rumble this year, so it should have been Batista versus the Undertaker to end the show, in my opinion. But instead, they had John Cena versus Shawn Michaels because I thought they were bigger stars at the time. I don't know. Everybody was hoping that Shawn Michaels was going to win and become the WWE champion at WrestleMania 23. But Shawn Michaels wasn't ready for another title run. I don't think he wanted to have another title run, whatever. And Triple H got injured. So the idea was it was supposed to be, I think, Shawn Michaels versus Triple H versus John Cena, or Triple H versus John Cena again at WrestleMania, where John Cena just beats him again, and that's that. but instead they did Shawn Michaels versus John Cena, which was still pretty good match. Um, but the disappointing factor was John Cena beat Shawn Michaels, and there's a celebration. If Shawn Michaels had won, it would have been so much better. I mean, Shawn Michaels could have just won it and then dropped the title a month later or whatever, unless they felt that fans wouldn't like that. But fans didn't like John Cena beating him in the first place. Um, Besides that, this WrestleMania was okay. It wasn't bad or anything. They could have done more. You know, maybe have Edge and versus Randy Orton, or instead of putting him in a Money in the Bank ladder match where you know they were more kind of out of place. Because Rated RKO was breaking up. They only had one, two, three, four, five, six. There's only like 8 matches, and if you count the pre-show match, it was like Gregory Helms and someone else versus Carlito and Ric Flair, a random tag match for the pre-show. But yeah, other than that, this WrestleMania was okay. It just they could have done more with it. They could have ended the show with Batista and Undertaker instead of Shawn Michaels and John Cena, and maybe had Shawn Michaels win. I don't know. It just didn't end the way we wanted it to win, with John Cena just winning. But that's just my opinion. That's my review for WrestleMania 23. I'll be doing more WrestleMania reviews during the week, not in order, but whatever. But that's my review for WrestleMania 23. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day. Subscribe if you want to. And peace out, everybody.